Welcome back to the neighborhood. I'm Dylan, and it's that time again where we talk about our favorite games we've played over the past year. This time, Andrew, Aubrey, and I are going through our top games that we played in 2024, some of which came out this year, but others are ones that we may have played for the first time or replayed this year. As we go through our lists, keep in mind that these are our personal lists, and if yours is different, we'd love for you to share it in the comments. So let's get started.
First of all, shout out to Shadow of the Erdtree. I had a fantastic time with Shadow of the Erdtree this year, and if I included it in my list, it would have likely gotten the number one spot. Since this is an expansion, and since Elden Ring got my Game of the year it came out, I opted to give it an honorable mention and exclude it from the proper list. It is fantastic though, and I highly recommend it. Number 5, Wayfinder. Wayfinder released in 1.0 this year, and I had a great time with it. I played it exclusively non-stop for a whole weekend when it was released. It has fun gameplay with a satisfying loop, and an art style reminiscent of the Darksider series, which I love. I'm also a huge fan of the development story behind this game. I love seeing the creators take feedback from the players, work hard on the game that they love, and make it into something great.
And number 5 for me was Sid Meiers Pirates. A classic in most any sense of the word. I loved it as a kid. I love it now. It's a great simulation game. Wonderful to play when you have a TV show or a video essay going on the second monitor. It's just a grand old time pretending to be a pirate in the heyday. Can't recommend it enough. Pick it up on Steam. Definitely play it with the numpad.
I'm using this pick to shout out all of the ongoing games I enjoyed this year that got updates or expansions. Some are multiplayer games I've been enjoying, like Teamfight Tactics, which has a season based on Arcane going on right now, and Dead by Daylight, which got characters like Vecna from Dungeons & Dragons and Dracula from Castlevania. Others got big expansions, like Destiny 2, The Final Shape, Diablo 4, Vessel of Hatred, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, RimWorld Anomaly, and Factorio Space Age. Overall, it was a pretty great year for some of my tried and true favorites.
Number 4, Marvel Rivals. Is it basically just Overwatch with Marvel characters? No, it's third person too. But seriously, I like the gameplay of Overwatch, but the Marvel characters, third person perspective, and player-friendly battle pass are all reasons why Rivals speaks to me more than Overwatch did. I've been having a ton of fun with Rivals both as a solo player and with friends. It's worth checking out if you're looking for a multiplayer game to sink into.
Number 4 was an indie experience called Sea of Solitude. A beautiful allegory about recognizing damaging patterns in your past and how that can affect your psyche, and trying to take care of your inner child as you do some healing work addressing mistakes you've made in the past and regrets that you have growing up. Fascinating art style, lovely music, and a surprisingly cathartic story.
I played through Control again this year and fell in love with Remedy's weird, mysterious world all over again. The SCP meets X-Files story and setting kept me wanting to explore, and the powers you unlock throughout the game made that exploration a blast. The 2 expansions flesh out the world and connect it to some of Remedy's other games, so now I'm in the process of playing those, and wouldn't be surprised if they show up on a future list.
Number 3, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. While I think this game has some pacing issues, I had a fantastic experience playing through the second part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. As someone with no nostalgia for the original game, I still had a good time with the wacky world and fun cast of characters. But, similarly to Final Fantasy VII Remake, the combat system is the star of the show here, and it's even better this time around.
Number 3 for me this year was Hades. Finally got around to it, got really deep in the lore. I am not ashamed to say that I played on God mode, so every time I lost, the game got a little bit easier for me. Finally settled into the build that was most comfortable for me and was able to start consistently clearing. I find the art beautiful, the music exciting and interesting and dynamic, and the story worth returning to.
Dredge combines the cozy appeal of fishing minigames with the mystery and dread of cosmic horror brilliantly. I loved sailing around catching the various fish and piecing together the story so much that I 100%ed this game and then got the DLCs, so I had more to do. The fishing gameplay was fun, and the story hit the perfect cosmic horror vibes and stuck the landing. So if either of those appeal to you, I'd highly recommend this game.
Number 2, Stellar Blade. No matter where you fall regarding the character designs, Stellar Blade is still just a really fun and stylish sci-fi action game that I had a ton of fun playing this year. The Nier Automata-inspired world, music, and story were all good, but the gameplay was the real reason this game is so high on my list. Stellar Blade is a gamey video game with environmental puzzles, unique monster designs, and a really solid combat system, and I love that about it. I love when video games are unashamedly just games. If you like action games, you should definitely check this one out.
My number 2 choice is Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, a beautiful remaster of the 2013 classic. I've always been a pretty big fan of Tomb Raider and Lara Croft, and obviously a nice re-release of a beautiful upgraded edition was an easy thing to pick up. I find the story engaging, the action exciting, and as I've said many times before and will continue to say, love me a female protagonist.
I found Unicorn Overlord as I was getting really into auto battlers this year. While it's not an auto battler in the same way as something like Teamfight Tactics, the combat does play out as a mix between an RTS and your units automatically fighting each other in squads. The story is your typical defeat the evil empire fantasy fare, but there are so many characters, all of whom have their own quests and interactions for you to discover. If you found yourself wishing Fire Emblem Three Houses had less of the magic high school sections, this game may be for you.
And number 1, Lords of the Fallen. My number 1 game didn't release in 2024, but it did have 2 major updates this year, and I played it for the first time this year. Similar to Wayfinder, I love seeing the devs be so passionate about their game and continue to add fun and unique gameplay mechanics and quests. As for the game itself, there are still some technical issues, but they weren't enough to stop me from playing through this game 3 times to get the 3 endings with 3 different builds. I love the setting and aesthetic of Lords of the Fallen, and the dual worlds mechanic is unique and interesting. If you like Souls games, this is one you should definitely try out.
Number 1, Balers Gate 3. I'm sure this comes as a surprise to no one, but I really enjoyed Balers Gate 3 and was playing it well into 2024. I found the variety in approaches really refreshing. I challenged myself with multi-classing and trying to develop specific builds. I find it just has a lot of replay value, even once you get through the initial story. The game does a great job of fostering your creativity and encouraging you to find different and interesting approaches to problem solving. And I think it's going to be one I return to for many years to come.
Baldur's Gate 3 was also my favorite game for many of the reasons Aubrey already mentioned. I just love how much choice there is in this game and how rewarding it makes all of those choices. I could have a completely different experience playing it again just by making some different decisions and approaching some situations another way, and that's why it takes my top spot. So those are the games that we enjoyed the most this past year. If you want to hear us talk more in depth about these and other games, check out Your Friendly Neighborhood Gamers wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving us a like and subscribing to be notified when a new video is posted. That's all from us for 2024. Happy holidays and stay friendly, gamers.